Please observe silence for some time. Om. Light. Bhagavad Gita, chapter number 6. We'll chant the first 7 verses.
श्रीभगवानुवाच अनाश्रितः कर्मफलम् कार्यं कर्म करोति यः स सन्न्यासी च योगी च न निरग्निर्न चाक्रियः यं सन्न्यासमिति प्राहुः योगं तं विद्धि पाण्डव न ह्यसन्न्यस्तसङ्कल्पः योगी भवति कश्चन आरुरुक्षोर्मुनेर्योगं कर्म कारणमुच्यते योगारूढस्य तस्यैव शमः कारणमुच्यते यदा हिनेन्द्रियार्थेषु न कर्मस्वनुषज्जते सर्वसङ्कल्पसन्न्यासी योगारूढस्तदोच्यते उद्धरेदात्मनात्मानं नात्मानमवसादयेत् आत्मैव ह्यात्मनो बन्धुः आत्मैव रिपुरात्मनः बन्धुरात्मात्मनस्तस्य येनात्मैवात्मना जितः अनात्मनस्तु शत्रुत्वे वर्तेतात्मैव शत्रुवत् जितात्मनः प्रशान्तस्य परमात्मा समाहितः शीतोष्णसुखदुःखेषु तथा मानापमानयोः
Your mic is muted.
Yeah. Thanks, Tim. At least one person is listening or wants to listen. I'm glad. I'm happy. Where are you, Tim?
I'm right here.
Ah, there you go. You're the reason I'm talking. So we are on the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita is called as Dhyana Yoga, Yoga of meditation. And last week we studied the third verse. For a seeker who wants to master yoga, I am reading the translation, action is said to be the means. For the one who is established in yoga, quietude is said to be the means. So, what is telling us, I'm just recapping the main point. Initially, you have to plunge into action. Any seeker, any spiritual seeker, he has to plunge into action to purify his personality. Now, why we are saying this? Because you have a lot of desires. In the initial stage of your spiritual journey, you're full of desires. So to purify your desires, to reduce the quantity of your desires, to increase the quality of your desires, you need action, unselfish action. That is understood. So when you go through unselfish action in your day-to-day life, you don't have to do anything different. Whatever profession you are engaged in, whatever activities you are engaged in, you need to do these activities in the spirit of service and sacrifice. That is karma yoga. So when you do that, bulk of your desires are offloaded. And when bulk of the desires are offloaded, you qualify for deeper study, reflection, contemplation, and eventually meditation. That's what it's telling us. For one who is established in yoga, quietude is said to be the means, meaning when you offload bulk of the desires, you qualify eventually for meditation because your mind has to cooperate. So that's the key. But it's not in black and white. Everybody needs knowledge, everybody needs action. So, to the extent you offload your desires, to that extent you will be able to study more. And you can use your own spiritual journey as a reference. So, then it becomes quite clear. So, when you got introduced to this knowledge, I mean, how many lectures did you want to attend? Maybe one lecture once in a while. But there are too many desires. Even if you came for a class, mind is going all over the place. But now, what has happened to you after 3 years, 4 years, 5 years? Definitely, your capacity to take knowledge has increased because you have either consciously or unconsciously offloaded good many of your desires. So you can verify this by your own life. It's not a difficult concept. So this is what we studied last week. This is the main point in verse number 3. And then the thought flow continues in the 4th verse.
यदा हिनेन्द्रियार्थेषु न कर्मस्वनुषज्जते सर्वसङ्कल्पसन्न्यासी योगारूढस्तदोच्यते. यदा हिनेन्द्रियार्थेषु न कर्मस्वनुषज्जते सर्वसङ्कल्पसन्न्यासी योगारूढस्तदोच्यते.
Translation: when a man is not attached either to sense objects or actions and has renounced all sankalpas, meaning thoughts, then he is said to be established in yoga. Yoga rudhasta dochyate. Now, how do you know that you are established in the spiritual path? I mean, all of us would like to know. You may be putting efforts, but are you putting efforts the way they should be put? So, what's the parameter? What is the litmus test by which you come to know that you are definitely getting established in the spiritual path? So he gives three parameters, and one by one we are going to analyze that. So the first parameter is detached from sense objects. Second is you're detached from actions. And third is you're detached from thoughts for them. Now, usually these verses, they are misunderstood. See, therefore, people think being spiritual means doing nothing. Sometimes people, they tell a joke, I mean, 100 times I heard this joke. They saw a man on a beach, you're relaxing, sunbathing. And somebody asked him, what are you doing? I'm relaxing. Don't you want to do the same thing? Why are you working? I also want to relax on the beach. It's being lazy. Incidentally, you may relax on the beach. There's nothing wrong with that. That's not spirituality. This is where it is completely misunderstood. So therefore, it needs a lot of explanation. So when he says you are detached from sense objects, see what it means is the average person is infested with desires, isn't it? So therefore, the whole life goes in acquisition and enjoyment. So that's the pursuit. 90% of the people, or maybe 90% of human beings, they are engaged in acquisition and enjoyment. We're not saying it is wrong, but you must understand what is happening to you. So the whole life goes in the pursuit of wealth. Nothing wrong with wealth. You cannot survive without wealth. But if you're attached to wealth, if you're obsessed with wealth, so that obsession with wealth is for what? I'm talking about ignorant people. But obsession for wealth is to acquire sense objects. And you want to indulge in the sense objects. So you're obsessed with it, that pursuit. But incidentally, with this knowledge, you may have access to sense objects, but you're not attached to them. You're not enamored by them, even if you're contacting the sense objects. Eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and skin. These are the organs of perception. And they are going to the corresponding sense objects. So the ignorant person throughout his or her life wants to acquire and enjoy sense objects at this level. That's what we mean by perception. But with this knowledge, you may have access to sense objects. You may contact sense objects, but you have no value for them. See, this is where people, they misunderstand. And beautifully, symbolically, they have shown this in Ganesha. And Ganesha means perfection in a human being. Lord Ganesha, we all know. So there is no personality called as Lord Ganesha. A lot of people, they believe. So the way he is portrayed is he's sitting with one leg folded and the other leg is stretched out. I'm sure you must have seen that It will be somewhere in the house. Don't worry, I'm sitting here. But everybody knows that. And the lake which is stretched out, you will find it is surrounded by a lot of good food. You know, there is a feast being laid out, as it were. So, what it means, what is perfection in the human being? You may have wealth, you may have enormous wealth, but you are completely detached from it. If you don't understand, then ignorant people, they say, oh, you should not contact wealth. I mean, where will you live? Will you pitch up a tent and stay in a tent in this weather or anywhere in the world? So when they say detached from sense objects, meaning sense objects have no value for you. Is it clear? If you misunderstand, you will not contact sense objects. I mean, without contacting sense objects, you cannot live. How can you live? So that is what it means. So nothing wrong in contacting the sense objects, but you maintain that spirit of renunciation while contacting the sense objects if you contact the sense objects. So we often talk about Ravana's indulgent lifestyle. I mean, those who are from India, they will know what I am talking. That is how his character is being portrayed. So if somebody is indulgent, what do we say? Too indulgent. Somebody is, like indulging at all levels of his senses. What do we say? I mean, yes, it's okay. I mean, indulgence is okay, but this is Ravana's indulgence. You know, every year you change your phone. Not ordinary phone, I mean, iPhone. So it's Ravana's indulgence, which is all of us. We don't have to look here and there. I mean, could be. Then he says you are detached from organs of actions. So when he says detached from organs of action, see, constantly you are acting in the world to fulfill your desires. That is what it means. So you need worldly objects and beings to entertain you. Also, when you are doing your duties, you get involved in your duties. Duties are must. Without doing duties, you cannot evolve spiritually. But in the name of duties, you can be completely obsessed with it. That's what it means, that you are involved at the level of the action. Also, socializing all the time. Again, there is nothing wrong in socializing, but you have to. I mean, if you don't socialize on the weekends or whatever, you feel restless because constantly you have to act. Constantly you're on the social media. These are some examples. So you need objects and beings of the world to entertain you. You have to indulge in perception and action. Ignorant people we are talking about. And thoughts are also constantly going to the world. So you may not contact the world, right? You may live in solitude, but your thoughts are constantly going to the world. So that's what he means by sañkalpa. Has renounced all sañkalpas. One person may not contact the world, but constantly he is thinking what to do next. See, that is the reason every religion has a period where you live a simple and frugal life, isn't it? Just to give us a taste of what is that life. So when you observe that frugal life, simple life, what do? You don't eat certain type of food. Relatively, you follow a simple life. You don't indulge, relatively speaking. So to give you a taste of what is that state all about, every religion they do that. Some of you have been to Vedanta Academy. We live simple and frugal life for 3 years. There is no TV, there is no newspaper, there is no social media. You can't leave campus. During our time, there were no phones also. There is no cell phones. Now, okay, there are cell phones. So you are completely cut off from the world just to fortify yourself. So you could do it in your own way. But having said that, what you should understand that you could be dynamic but quiet from inside. This is where it is misunderstood. So just because he says not attached to sense objects, actions, and your thoughts are not going towards the objects and beings of the world, you could be highly dynamic, active, but still your thoughts are not going to the world. You're not dependent on the sense objects. See, when we play with young children, let's say age 6, 7, or 8, does this not apply to us? What is your answer? When you are playing with young kids or your grandchildren, all these parameters, do they apply to you or no?
No.
Yes.
No.
If you say no, then you're their age group only, no? Are you not completely detached from
Yes.
the
Yes.
sense objects, the toy world?
Yes.
Are you not completely detached from the action? Though you may play with them, you may have a good time, but are you involved in a toy game?
No.
If you lose a game, will you start crying or will you fight with another child? That's what I mean. I have to give,
Maybe.
I don't know,
Maybe.
bring it down to the level of absurdity. Will you keep thinking about the toys once the game is over? You may be the manager of Toys R Us. There's a store, right? 24/7 you are there. You're planning to buy the toys, from where to buy and all that. But are you not completely detached from the toy world? Though you are active, though you are dynamic, maybe you have won the award. You're the best store manager of Toys R Us. But are you not completely detached from the toy world? So this is where it is misunderstood. So one could be extremely dynamic, but you maintain that spirit of abstraction within. That is a sign of growth. If you misunderstand, you will think, okay, that guy on the beach, not doing anything. It doesn't mean that. See, therefore, traditionally, this knowledge was given out by Raja Rishis. We often talk about that. Kings themselves were sages. Now, who is Lord Krishna? He was a king. Who was Lord Rama? He was a king. So there is a galaxy of saints and sages. So they had empires, huge empires, but they had nothing to do with their empires. So they had that spirit of renunciation in whatever they were doing. So one could be dynamic, but completely disconnected from what you are contacting. Or also in scriptures, they give examples of people who are living in complete solitude. Contrast they portray. Krishna, who is dynamic. There is a character called Sudama, sort of living, he's not a king. There are some sages who are living in the caves away from civilization. But both were established in these three. Or you may live in solitude, but your thoughts may be constantly going towards the world, isn't it? So it does not matter what you do. You may live in solitude, you may live a very dynamic life. Where are your thoughts? So that's the ultimate test of, are you established in the spiritual path or no? You may, let's say somebody living in solitude, but what are you thinking of constantly? What you could be thinking of? The world, like, and I'm missing so much. Or you could be in the world, the dynamic functioning in the world, but you have no value for what the world has to offer. So it has got nothing to do with what you do. Where are your thoughts? So that's a very definition of spirituality. So now you read the translation, it makes sense. So when a man is not attached either to sense objects, that does not mean you don't contact. Or actions doesn't mean you're not acting, right? And has renounced sañkalpas, your thoughts are not going towards perception and action. Then he is said to be established in yoga. So it's a very practical verse. Are we okay? Clear? Verse number 5, please.
उद्धरेदात्मनात्मानम् नात्मानमवसादयेत् आत्मैव ह्यात्मनो बन्धुः आत्मैव रिपुरात्मनः उद्धरेदात्मनात्मानम् नात्मानमवसादयेत् आत्मैव ह्यात्मनो बन्धुः आत्मैव रिपुरात्मनः.
So very famous and a powerful verse. Uddharet atmanatmanam. Let man lift himself by himself. Let him not lower himself. His self alone is his friend. His self alone is his enemy. Bandhu and Shatru. So by self, he means body, mind, intellect, not Atman. So your own body, mind, intellect could be your friend. Your own body, mind, intellect could be your enemy. Number one. Number two, let man lift himself by himself. Krishna is telling this to who? That is interesting. If you understand this, I mean, the rest of the verse is just a formality. Doesn't need much explanation. Krishna is telling who? Man must lift himself by himself, meaning you must lift yourself by yourself. He is telling this to who? Krishna. The enlightened person, Lord himself, is telling this to who?
Arjuna.
Arjuna. To us.
Yeah, correct. Arjuna to us. But who was Arjuna? His best friend. But okay, best friend, we keep telling each other so many things, you know. So what? Yes, he was his friend, but also what? That friend had done what?
Yes, us.
He was a great warrior. That was his profession, but he had done what?
Surrender.
Excellent. Who said that?
Anil.
Yeah, very good. Excellent. So Lord himself, he is telling his friend who has surrendered to him completely, he is telling him, sorry, brother. So use American language, sorry, bro, I can't help you. You must help yourself. It almost sounds like, you know, I mean, don't you have any feelings for me? Not really. So what it means is, it highlights the importance of self-effort in life, in any facet of life, whether it is material field, whether it is spiritual field. Yes, teachers, books, definitely they have a role to play. We need their help. But at the end of the day, you need to put efforts yourself. Nobody can put effort for you. Teacher cannot put effort for you. So reason for that is every human being has purushartha. Purushartha meaning self-effort. So you can completely negate your past if you put self-efforts. See, for example, we all have come in this world with X amount of desires. Now, using your self-efforts, you can completely eliminate your desires and you can reach a state of spiritual enlightenment. Every human being has that capacity. Nobody is denied that capacity. And how to do that? Definitely, we need knowledge of the scriptures. How to manage life? We need knowledge of the scriptures. We need help of a teacher. At end of the day, you need to put effort yourself. So that capacity to put effort, self-effort, is called as purushartha in Sanskrit. In English, we use the word self-effort. See, one could be born in poverty and you could reach the top of the world. How many examples are there? Personally, I know so many people who came to this country. I'm talking about, like, could be Indian, could be Chinese, could be German, whatever. They came to America with practically nothing, and they reached really top of their profession and came from a very humble background. So that's the capacity every human being has, purushartha. So the same capacity, same purushartha, you can use in the spiritual field. There is a story of Angulimal. We all know that, Buddha's disciple. He was a serial killer. So from that state of mind, he became an enlightened person. So that capacity we all have. You may use it, you may not use it. So therefore, Krishna is saying, yes, I'm there to help you. I'm going to give you all the information, all the knowledge. But you must lift yourself by your own efforts. So we all know Shakespeare's play Macbeth, right? So what did Macbeth do? It's a very famous play. So what did Macbeth do?
To kill King Duncan was his benefactor to get the kingdom.
He killed him, not wanted to. He killed him. Wanted to, I mean, what's the big deal? We all want to do something, but he actually, sometimes you feel like I want to kill, not, don't take it literally, I want to bash my whatever, better half, but nobody does that. Please don't do. When you get that feeling. He killed Duncan, who was his benefactor. I mean, imagine what kind of human being he is. And therefore, he was totally disturbed. He couldn't sleep. I murdered my sleep. I murdered my sleep. This is what he's saying. So he went to meet a doctor. In today's language, modern language, he went for a counseling. He met a psychiatrist. And he starts, I can't sleep. I lost my sleep. And it's a fascinating piece of advice the doctor gives him. Doctor says to Macbeth, therein the patient must minister to himself. Minister meaning administer, is Shakespearean language. Therein the patient must minister to himself. So I can't help you. You're agitated, something wrong with you, you can't sleep. I can't help you. You must fix your inner personality. I can maybe tell you how to do it, but I can't help you. What a statement. Therein the patient must minister to himself. So we all have, again, I'm repeating, X amount of desires, X amount of peace, X amount of growth. And definitely we need guidance of the scriptures. You need teacher, you need guru, you need books. It goes without saying. But nobody can put efforts for you. See, that is where a lot of people, they misunderstand. We go to Lord Krishna for what? To a temple, for his blessings. And the person who is in front of him is telling him, I can't really help you. You understand? And nobody really understands these concepts. See, we all have studied Bhajagovindam before Bhagavad Gita, right? So the last verse, I'm giving you a reference. So verse number 31, he says, surrendering to the lotus feet of the Guru, the devotee soon becomes liberated from samsara. So you can't say that, there is no meaning. What are these teachers? What are these books? I can help myself. Definitely, we need help. It goes without saying. You need to surrender to a guru with all that bhavana, that devotion has to be there. But then he says, through the control of senses and mind, you will behold a Lord seated in your heart. Meaning, how will you improve? How will you progress? You need to put efforts. So the second part, most people they ignore. They go to a guru with what belief? Or other misbelief, right? You go to a teacher, you go to a master for what? You take his blessings. We're not saying you should not. Of course, you should. But what do you believe?
That the
Knowledge.
teacher will improve our conditions. Yeah.
He will, I mean, when he blesses us, he will improve your condition. It's not possible. There are people who go to a master for a hug. There are people who believe that their hand touches their forehead, the entire life will be transformed. All sorts of misconception. It's like you go to a gym and you hire an instructor, gym instructor, and he's like, well-built six-pack. He hugs you. What will happen to you? Will you develop good muscles? See, it is as absurd as that. But yes, definitely you may hire a trainer. I mean, what's wrong? You may hire a yoga guru. Some of you been to the academy, Vedanta Academy, I mean, it's amazing this kind of fitness students have, some of them, especially yoga instructors. They demonstrate, they demonstrate how to do yoga, but end of the day, you need to stretch yourself. They cannot do it for you. So you can change your life anytime. This is the message for us towards positive. But also you can unmake your life towards negative. Both capacities you have. So you can make yourself, you can mar yourself, unmake yourself. Don't blame anybody else. The other day, I don't know, I heard somewhere where it was here or in New York, I forget. I mean, it's all karma. Going through some bad thing, bad experiences in life, it's all karma. It's very easy to say. Like I come to Vijay's house and I pick up fight with Vijay and Raji, what is this nonsense? This is not right. That is not right. What are you doing? And then there's a rift in our relationship. And then I say, it's all karma. You get my point. See, you have that capacity to relate to people. If you know how to relate to people, even with the most unpleasant person, you will have a beautiful relationship. But if you do not know how to relate to people, I mean, you may get the best person and you will mess up that relationship. Othello did not know how to relate to Desdemona. Desdemona in Indian context is like a Sita Savitri. You cannot get better person as your spouse than Desdemona. He completely messed up that relationship, isn't it? And in Taming of the Shrew, another play by Shakespeare, I mean, she was a terrible girl. What's her name? Katharina. Nobody wants wife like Katharina. Shrew, spoiled brat completely. But Petruchio, he knew how to relate to her and he had a beautiful relationship. So don't blame the world for what is happening to you. You have the capacity to use your personality either positively or negatively. If you have knowledge, you will use body, mind, intellect for spiritual evolution, for something constructive. But if you don't have this knowledge, same body, mind, intellect can be used for negative activities. See, for example, we all have body. This body can be used for what? Positive example, negative example, I want. What is positive example? We all have bodies. It's a gift, right? Born with a body, healthy body. So what is it that you can do with this body?
Keep it healthy, keep it up.
Yes, Anna?
Like sustained energy to be able to be of service.
Sustain energy, like do something, live a disciplined life. Or the same body can be used for, what can you do with this body?
Destruction.
Yeah, indulge in it. Drink alcohol, do drugs, and all sorts of nonsense. You can't blame body. You have that capacity, isn't it? Similarly, with mind, you can entertain either positive emotions or negative emotions. With intellect, you can entertain positive thoughts or negative thoughts. So every human being has that capacity to change his or her life. That capacity is given to us. You may use it, you may not use it. Uddharet Atmanatmanam. Is it clear? See, those who don't know Sanskrit, I mean, at least this much they should try to by heart, isn't it? You know Sanskrit, so for you it's no big deal. Uddharet Atmanatmanam. So when you're down, you must remind yourself, I must lift myself by myself. It's very motivating, it's very inspiring. So let man lift himself by himself. Let him not lower himself. His self alone is friend, his self alone is his enemy. So you can do best of the things, you can do worst of the things. That's the capacity you have. Now you decide what kind of a life you want to live. I don't know how many of you were there for the retreat which we did, Mundokopanishad. You were there, Shruti was there. I think most of you were there, right? So what was that invocation we chanted? Forgot.
Maybe.
Shrunyam Deva. I mean, it's quite famous. So the teacher and taught they are praying. May we use our ears for something auspicious. May we use our eyes for something auspicious. May we use our mind for doing something auspicious. May we use our intellect for something auspicious. So the entire personality has to be tuned in for your spiritual evolution. This is what it means. Or the same personality can be tuned in for something negative, isn't it? You have a choice how much of news to listen to. One thing is you don't know what is happening in the world at all. Somebody says, that Russia-Ukraine war. What is Russia? What is Ukraine? You don't know anything. The second thing is half a day you're listening to that. Where they dropped the bomb, what was the caliber of the bomb, all that. So also what you're taking into a personality 24/7. All negative thing from our media. What will happen to you if you do that? I'm not saying you should not do that. You have that choice. So either you can take news day in and day out, what will happen to you? If you keep on taking that kind of stimuli, what will happen 24/7?
Become angry.
You become angry, you become like a toxic person. Nobody can go near you. Or you can read eternities. Read eternities, no times, isn't it? It is Swami's original quotation. He says somebody, actually his quotation. Read no, read no times. Read the eternity. Eternity is meaning this knowledge. Read no time. Times is 24/7. You're tuned into 24/7. There are channels which are called 24/7. You have that choice. So you decide. So we can go on analyzing. I'm just throwing main points at you. Verse number 6, please. He makes it more clear in verse 6.
बन्धुरात्मात्मनस्तस्य येनात्मैवात्मना जितः अनात्मनस्तु शत्रुत्वे वर्तेतात्मैव शत्रुवत् बन्धुरात्मात्मनस्तस्य येनात्मैवात्मना जितः अनात्मनस्तु शत्रुत्वे वर्तेतात्मैव शत्रुवत्.
Translation. For him who has conquered his self, the self is his friend. See, now the word, when it is in lowercase self, it means body, mind, intellect. And when it is in the uppercase, it means Atman, or the God principle in you. So that you need to understand. So for him who has conquered his self, the body, mind, intellect, already explained in the last verse, the God principle is his friend, Bandhu. But for him who has not conquered his self, the God principle verily becomes hostile like an enemy. Like an enemy, not enemy, Shatru. So the words he uses are Bandhu and Shatru. So what you need to understand, self or Atman or God principle enlivens our body, mind, intellect. Without God principle, body, mind, intellect cannot function. But how you use body, mind, intellect, God principle has got absolutely nothing to do with it. Are you with me? See, without God principle, body, mind, intellect cannot function. Matter is body, mind, intellect. It's like electricity. Without electricity, no bulb can function. No gadget in the world can function. But the performance of the gadget, for example, this bulb may give a bright light, another bulb may give a dim light. So the performance of the bulb or any electrical gadget, electricity has got nothing to do with it. Electricity is neutral. It simply gives energy to any electrical gadget, but the performance of the electrical gadget depends on the way it is designed. So similarly, without God principle, without self, without Atman, body, mind, intellect cannot function. It's not possible. It enlivens body, mind, intellect. But how you use body, mind, intellect, God principle has got absolutely nothing to do with it. It is neutral. There is no point blaming God in layman's language if something bad happens. Or why there is war, why there is destruction, why there is poverty, why there is, it depends on how you manage your life, either individually or collectively. Also, there is no point praising, oh, thank you, because of you, I'm peaceful, because of you, there is success, because of you. Yes, both, whether it is poverty, whether it is peace, without God principle, nothing is possible. It goes without saying. But God principle has got absolutely nothing to do with the way you manage your personality, the way you manage yourself. So with body, you perceive and act, isn't it? With mind, you feel emotions. With intellect, you entertain various thoughts. But the quality and quantity depends on you. Are you with me? See, for example, with senses, you can receive a gross stimuli: eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and skin. These are the five senses you have. With that, what can you receive? What is the possibility? You can receive a gross stimuli. Another example, keep on watching news, or keep on listening to the gossip. You can do that. Or you can receive something divine with the same senses. You have that choice. Also, with senses, you can indulge, or the same senses you can use to live a disciplined life. Are you following the thought flow? Actions. You could perform the most selfish action or actions. Or you could perform sacrificial action. Like in Tale of Two Cities, Sidney Carton, we all saw that movie, right? By Charles Dickens. He gave his life for somebody else. The thought itself is inspiring. Or you could take somebody else's life, like Macbeth, the most selfish action. Brutus killed Julius Caesar, his own benefactor. The most selfish action or the most unselfish action. You have that choice, isn't it? With mind, you can entertain negative emotions or you can entertain positive emotions. Mind can be attached to worldly objects and beings, or the same mind could be attached to something higher. With intellect, you can take negative ideas and ideologies and destroy yourself and the world. This doesn't need explanation, especially in today's context. It is scary. Nobody knows whether next week there will be class or no. Some mad guy presses some button, the whole world could be blown off. 10 years back, nobody would have taken this seriously. But in today's context, you understand the seriousness of the whole thing. So therefore, that concept of pralaya is there in all religion. Pralaya meaning mass destruction. So you can use your intellect to entertain negative ideas and ideologies, or the same intellect can be used to gain the knowledge of the scriptures. So it all depends on how you manage your personality. In that sense, he's using the word bandhu and shatru. Bandhu means like a friend. So when you use the God principle in you positively, then you're using it positively. But if the same God principle you use to do something negative, then it becomes negative. Like an enemy, not enemy, like an enemy. It's like it all depends on how you relate to wealth. Wealth can be used to do good to yourself, your family, and community. Yes or no? Or the same wealth can be used to harm yourself by doing all sorts of indulgences, by pampering your children and destroying them, and getting into all sorts of indulgences in life. Wealth has got nothing to do with it. It all depends on how you use it. And most people do not know how to relate to wealth. Nobody will accept it. Let me acquire wealth and then we will talk. I can prove it to your own satisfaction if you sit with me that whatever negative things are happening to you, they are because of what?
Yourself.
Excess wealth. That doesn't mean you should not have wealth. You may be the wealthiest person in the world, but beautifully you will know how to relate to wealth. It's nothing to do with quantum of the wealth. Since most people do not know how to relate to wealth, wealth becomes a curse.
Mm.
Please curse me, please curse me. This is what we will say. It's impossible to understand. Power can be used to uplift a community. It's a great thing. But the same power can be used to do something self-centered and negative. You can't blame power, isn't it? See, we all studied Dhyana shlokas. I think before Bhagavad Gita, it was, we did that. With a fascinating shloka there. See, he shows there Krishna. In one hand, he is holding a cane. And with the other hand, he shows this Jnana Mudra. Prapanna Parijataya Totra Vetraika Krishna Jnana Mudraya. It's a very famous verse. So the Krishna, they just show the picture. One hand he is holding a cane stick, and with the other hand he shows Jnana Mudra. This is Jnana Mudra. Pointing finger when it touches the thumb. This is called as Jnana Mudra. So when he shows stick with one hand, see, it's all symbolic, not to be taken literally. So he used, who was he? He was a cowherd boy as a child. So he used to take cows for grazing. And what do cows do? A whole day they are eating, right? They come back. What do? They bring out the food and again they start chewing. So it symbolizes your pursuit of sense objects. You could indulge your body, mind, intellect in worldly activities all day long. You have that choice. You can live that kind of a life. Or the second choice is Jnana Mudra. They are showing you disconnect from body, mind, intellect, and thumb represents the substratum of the personality. You focus on the self, the goal of spiritual evolution or self-revolution, self-evolution, self-realization. You have that choice. So either you can indulge in the world or you can put efforts to evolve. God principle has got absolutely nothing to do with it. Krishna symbolizes Atman. Krishna, the words Krishna means dark. Atman. We don't know our Atman, therefore it is dark to us. So you can use Atman, the God principle in you, the divinity in you, to indulge whole life. Most people do that. Or the same body, mind, intellect can be used for what? For spiritual evolution, to find out your identity, to find out the purpose of your life. Saturday, Sunday can be used in the shopping mall. There are people who go through the deals, especially on the weekends. They get up and Saturday, okay, I don't know, Macy's 30% off. TikTok, I have to go to the Macy's. Then where Land's End, they're offering 40% off. Third, where Bed Bath and Beyond is gone now, I think. Okay, still online it is there. So they come out with a list. So you could spend your weekend shopping or go somewhere, for a weekend. It's okay. Once in a while is okay. Every weekend, I mean, why you go up north? We all go up north. We love it, but every weekend you want to go there and indulge. Or you could use every weekend for something. What? For something higher, to pursue something higher. Saturday there is a class. Now Sunday also we are starting a class. So those who are sincere, how can you indulge? It's not possible. So you have that choice. So don't blame God principle. That's what it means. Krishnaya Jnana Mudraya Prapanna Parijataya. So he shows cane in one hand and Jnana Mudra with the other. No need to read Bhagavad Gita, no need to read Upanishad. Just keep on looking at that picture. If you understand what it means, it's that powerful. So that's what it means. For him who has conquered his self, meaning when you have this knowledge, you know how to manage your personality. The God principle in you will become a blessing. You will do something good to yourself, to your family, to the community, to everybody. But if you are ignorant, same body, mind, intellect, you can use, first of all, you will harm yourself. Self-centeredness, agitations, worry, stress, strain, conflict, confrontation, disharmony, whatnot. Same body, mind, intellect, right? See, either we relate to each other beautifully using same actions of the body, emotions of the mind, and thoughts of the intellect, or same body, mind, intellect we can use to fight with each other, maybe destroy each other. Don't blame God principle. You have that choice. So the self verily becomes hostile like an enemy to an ignorant person. It's a poetic way of saying. Yes, time up. So I'll give you few minutes to clarify doubts, if any.
Amitji,
Yes,
can
ma'am.
you elaborate little bit on that picture you just talked about with the cane? So what does the cane symbolize?
See the
Because he's a
cane.
cow herder.
Now forget about the story. Story, you must understand the meaning in that story. So stick symbolizes your senses. And the cow. You use stick to guide the cows, right? So the cows, they stand for 5 senses: eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and skin. So what could you do with these 5 senses? Indulge in sense objects all day long, isn't it? So you
Yes.
can use your body, mind, intellect just to indulge in the world. We have that choice. We all have that choice. Or the same body, mind, intellect can be used to pursue something higher. Get this knowledge, put efforts to become better human beings. So, and Krishna symbolizes Atman. So that we already discussed. Without Atman, without God principle, body, mind, intellect cannot function. But how you use body, mind, intellect, God principle has got nothing to do with it. The quality and the quantity of your actions is completely in your hands. God principle has got nothing, meaning nothing to do with it. So they're poetically they are explaining it, for devotional people. But if you understand the message, then that is enough.
Thank you.
Amitji, the
Yes,
God principle, being neutral, how can it be your enemy and your friend? If a person is neutral, it's not going to take any sides.
well, it's a poetry. See, Bhagavad Gita is a poetry. So he doesn't say enemy like an enemy.
Okay.
Friend. I mean, we discuss wealth example. How can wealth be friend? How can wealth be enemy? Isn't it? But if you don't know how to relate to wealth, wealth becomes like an enemy. But if you know how to relate to wealth, when you have higher values, then you know how to relate to wealth. Then wealth becomes a blessing. But wealth per se is neither blessing nor curse. It all depends on how you use wealth, how you relate to wealth.
My
So
God.
similarly, without God principle, we can't function. But if you function constructively, positively, then this is beneficial. But if you indulge in life selfishly, then it becomes a negative thing, like an enemy. But it remains neutral. God principle is neutral. I think it does not control your positive and negative actions.
Thank you.
Any more doubts? Feel free to clarify doubts. Don't hesitate. Should not be any, how to ask question. Any question is more than welcome. And if it is a deviation, if it is not in the context of what we are studying, I will point it out. So don't worry. Don't hold back from asking a question if you have a genuine question. I'm not saying you ask question just because you have a question. No? All right, so let's conclude for today. If somebody has a question. All right, see you next week.
Hari Om, Amit ji. Thank you.
Thank
Hari
you.
Om.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amit ji.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hari Om, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Mm.